This is Franklin Saint.
Franklin
And
Saint,
if you've indulged in the series Snowfall, I think you'll agree with me that Franklin has one of those dark character arcs that become amusing to us as viewers. A story of a regular kid getting a taste of excessive money and power through the drug game, which transforms his characteristics negatively in order to increase his wealth. Snowfall is a great series because it doesn't just show us the life of Franklin Saint, it makes us feel it. After watching it, we feel like we know what it's like to be a drug dealer, to make a lot of money, and to make hard choices. But my focus in this documentary is on the psychological aspect of Franklin's character, the problems he actually has from a scientific standpoint, and what there is to learn from the consequences of his actions. So allow me to take you through his story so far while I break down the psychological components that turned him from an innocent kid on the block to an evil drug lord, and answer the question, is Franklin Saint a psychopath?
Hey man, if y'all like videos like this, man, let me know in the comments, bro, and I'll react to more videos like this.
The game's rigged. Man, they're made for people like us, so you know what? I'm rewriting the rules.
True, man.
Franklin Saint gets introduced in 1983 as a 19-year-old black kid living in South Central LA. The traits he seems to possess are being ambitious and intelligent, someone with extreme potential. He graduates high school and gives university an attempt, but ends up dropping out. The initial problem that arises for Franklin is that he's misguided. Being a black working class man in this period, Franklin struggled to find purpose outside his neighborhood. Amongst his people, the narrative suggests that going down the educational route just equals an uphill battle against the white middle class when looking for good jobs and careers, which deters most from trying, resorting to either being an athlete or being on the streets. Franklin knows internally he's destined for greatness, but just feels like society isn't in his favor. He initially starts working in a grocery store while also selling cannabis for his uncle Jerome, making okay money but not to the extent that really satisfies him. However, one day, his white friend Rob tells him where he gets his coke from, a man named Avi. Franklin, being the ambitious kid he is, sees a potential opportunity to make more money due to the substance being a much higher price than what he's used to. So he approaches Avi and proposes that he's given a chance to impress.
Okay, front me your key. And I'll turn it around quick.
Huh? How you planning on doing that?
I know people in my neighborhood.
They don't even know what cocaine is in your neighborhood, let alone have the money to afford it.
My people do. And it could mean a whole new client base for you.
In Franklin's mind, if he doesn't get rich somehow, he'll be stuck forever. So his determination at this point was incredibly high to do whatever it takes. Selling pure coke in Franklin's neighborhood wouldn't work well because poorer people can't afford it. And not long into his journey, he was beaten up and robbed for stealing a high-value customer from 2 other sellers. But not deterred, he tries to branch out to different areas, and whilst in Oakland with his 2 boys Leon and Kevin, Franklin finds out about crack cocaine, which they called rock, a more dangerous drug due to its potency and cheap price. But in Franklin's business mind, all he could see was dollar signs. So he learns how to cook up rock and brings it back to LA, where notoriety is being gained and respect is important. He engages in violence and killing for the first time in his life, and appears uncomfortable, showing his lack of experience in the game. But now he's got his product and he's got his customers in his neighborhood, he's recruited for good into the drug world, and profits are his future. A character Franklin comes into contact with is Teddy McDonald. Teddy is going to be an important character in this video as he displays the balance between Franklin and higher powers. When meeting Franklin, Teddy is a CIA agent whose aim it is to supply drugs into the USA and use the profits to fund a war against communism in another country. When he meets Franklin, he introduces him under a fake alias, Reed Thompson, and offers to become his coke supplier, which Franklin takes and then gets his people to turn into rock and distribute at a cheap price around the neighborhood. This is Franklin's first major issue. Of course, Franklin is desperate to reach financial success, but his plan now becomes to do it at the expense of his own people. The product Franklin is selling is highly addictive and ruins the lives of people who get hooked on it. But to him, that's just a cost of doing business. The fact he's willing to sacrifice other people's livelihood for his own financial gain is the first sign of narcissism in Franklin, which is extreme self-importance. But I feel it develops more as a story.
It can be 50-50, nigga. Why is you going to buy drugs and nigga, why is you selling the drugs? So it's 50-50. You can't just blame Franklin. Let's be real.
So we'll dive deeper into that soon. Franklin ensured the people recruited into his business to cook up the rock were close. His uncle Jerome, his aunt Louie, his 2 best friends Leon and Kevin, and his other friend Rob. This was to maintain trust within the business. The rest of the sellers at a lower level were kids recruited trying to make a bit of extra money. One of them was Kevin's cousin Delroy, who ended up being murdered by a Mexican hitman for dealing on their territory.
Damn.
After finding out, Kevin became unhinged. However, Franklin understood that the Mexican was well connected to gangs and retaliation would lead to a war, and made a logical decision to not retaliate. Kevin, being more emotional, didn't accept this and tried to end matters himself. He gave away the recipe for rock to Mexicans in exchange for the location of the hitman, but as he went to fire the fatal shot, Franklin, in an attempt to stop him, shot Kevin in the leg, and he passed away due to blood loss.
What?
Being in the game has led to Franklin killing his best friend, ruining his relationship.
If y'all didn't know, I didn't really watch Snowfall. I didn't really watch it. I know some parts, but I didn't really watch it. I didn't know that.
And now he's considering leaving it. Coupled with that, he gets arrested and thrown in jail, where he's brutally beaten up. At his deepest depths, almost given up, his best friend Leon gives him a speech to give him some hope.
But I want you to listen to me. I've been where you at, but you gotta keep fighting, you hear me?
Yeah, man, of course.
Due to Franklin's connection with Teddy, he gets off the murder charge and free from prison, and Franklin connects the dots and realizes who Teddy is, a CIA agent, but already deep in, decides to continue with the game and carry on his business. Going through the depths and struggles that he's now been through, we now have a darker, more heartless Franklin Saint, with only one goal on his mind.
Get that cheddar. Get that
Franklin
cheddar
knows that
cheese.
if he wants to make more money, he needs to increase his customer base. He also needs to be a more ruthless leader. Bigger business typically means more problems, and that doesn't change for Franklin. His first issue is Andre Wright, a police officer who also happened to be Franklin's neighbor and the father to Franklin's ex-girlfriend Melody.
Ah, hell.
Tricky situation. Franklin then acquires a place in the hills to stash his cash and important documents, but Andre and the police were hot on his tail, which was an issue Franklin had to be wary of. A second issue was that Franklin's repercussions of drug dealing were getting closer to home. Wanda, Leon's girlfriend, got addicted to rock, resulting in their relationship being forced to end.
Never did his last friend girlfriend get addicted to rock. I might gotta
Now
go watch
Melody is
Snowfall.
also an addict. Franklin's ruthlessness prevailed after he got Leon to execute a member of his crew for bringing attention to the cookhouse before police raided it. And due to Andre being too much of a threat to Franklin's business, Franklin also takes his life.
Damn!
Bringing back the idea of narcissism, Franklin shows signs of having malignant narcissism. This is someone who fantasizes about power and has a tendency to lash out if someone goes against their policies or plans, and they don't mind taking advantage of others to get what they want. These are traits that Franklin is starting to display, and these traits are signifying that Franklin is turning into a psychopath. Added with his lack of empathy and desensitization to killing, the assumption is turning more into a reality. Research suggests that these antics could be related to Franklin running a business.
There was a book a couple of years ago exploring how many CEOs might have psychopathic traits. Perhaps there's something about power. Perhaps in order to get to that level, you have to not care about other people. You have to demand a certain level of treatment and respect, and that's what narcissists do.
Whilst doing my own research, I found that 4 to 12% of CEOs display psychopathic tendencies, suggesting a correlation between Franklin's career choice and his psychology. But Melody managed to connect the dots between her father's death and Franklin's movements that night, and as retaliation, shoots Franklin 3 times, leaving him for dead.
Damn!
Franklin managed to survive, and despite having enough money to call it quits on the game after realizing the damage he's done and the problems that have come as a result, he feels he has a sense of duty to restore peace in his neighborhood after gang wars broke out whilst he was wounded. Scully and Manboy were the leaders of the Blood and Crip gangs and had gone to war over territories to sell their product. Franklin saw both of them as a threat to the business and had long-term plans to take both of them out, but kept them both close and acted as if they were civil partners. This manipulation of fake relationship for ulterior motives is another indication of psychopathic tendencies within Franklin. At first he sides with Manboy to try and kill Scully, which fails. Then Leon accidentally kills Scully's daughter, which also happens to be Manboy's niece. Now both of them put their issues aside and go to war against Franklin, along with Khadija, Scully's baby mother and Manboy's sister, who's put a bounty on Leon's head. They give Franklin an ultimatum to either give up Leon and continue business as usual, or protect Leon and go to war. Franklin has shown all of his psychopathic tendencies, and it wouldn't be a surprise for him to give up his friend for the sake of the business. But one of Franklin's key traits is being loyal to those who have been there from the start. In the war, Franklin displays his superior intelligence that I mentioned at the start and manages to overcome Khadija and Manboy, and Scully retires from the war, leaving Franklin with no more enemies. However, another problem arises closer to home. His father Alton, a figure that only recently came back into Franklin's life, fears for Franklin's safety due to him working with the CIA agent Teddy, and exposes the story to a reporter and puts Teddy's career and therefore Franklin's business in jeopardy, causing friction between them. Like I said when I first introduced Teddy to the story, he's the only one who has power superiority to Franklin, and Franklin finds it a struggle to make things on his terms, and he's so used to having control over the people he works with. But Franklin overcomes this imbalance and stops Teddy from retaliating, and lets his mom and dad flee the country to Cuba. However, Teddy loses his job after getting exposed, and tracks Alton down and ends his life too, unbeknownst to Franklin, and now Franklin can focus on a much brighter future for the business.
He took his father's life.
Time goes by, and Franklin finds a girlfriend, Veronique, who is pregnant with his child. In an attempt to increase his wealth legally, he now runs a major real estate firm and develops legit connections. However, he was still a drug kingpin. Franklin being in this relationship with Veronique and a child on the way motivates him to leave the game, but there's still loose ends that need tying. For one, Franklin has been given a replacement CIA officer, Brady, who was a lot more easygoing than Teddy, but wasn't performing to the expectations of the CIA. So Teddy returned, and despite Franklin being almost certain that he'd killed his father, proceeds to work with him as he feels he has no choice. Louis and Jerome, probably Franklin's most valuable partners in the business, now want to break away and run things separately. This would make business a lot worse for Franklin, and therefore he tries to stop them.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but everybody's got to answer to somebody. And me, I answer to the man who may have disappeared my father, and who will do the same to us if we don't move this product. Now, I don't know about y'all two, but I'd like to stay alive long enough to enjoy what I've made. So from here on out, I don't want to hear anything else about kilos or prices. Y'all want to go out on your own? Fine, but do not for 1 second around with what I got to do to get mine, because I promise you, there is nothing I'm not prepared to do.
Leon also no longer wants to be part of Franklin's enterprise and wants to help his people in the projects. The thing with Franklin is that he believes because he's more logical and intelligent than everyone else, it's okay to minimize the thoughts and opinions of other people and make choices for them. And for years now, he's had that control because he had the cash, and cash is king. Money is power. But now, things are starting to crack. Franklin feels uncomfortable and feels like he must go to extreme lengths to protect the business. So when he finds out that his longtime friend Rob was also addicted to the product and accidentally spilled out some information about the business, Franklin heartlessly takes his life too. Franklin had been running around with his bodyguard, Peaches, ever since he started making big money. And the whole time, Peaches had been extremely loyal to Franklin, to the point where Franklin even showed him where some of his money was stashed. However, he was unaware that Peaches had also become addicted to rock, and in a planned event, $5 million of his money was stolen, and Franklin and his family were shot at, all organized by Peaches, who had now fled. This all hits Franklin hard. Jerome and Louis get married, but at the wedding, Scully dosed the chocolate with acid, making Franklin hallucinate and conversate with the old version of himself, which gives him the idle introspection that he needed.
You know, you fear. Let the worst thing Dad did come true for you. For us, that's bullshit. He never cared about anybody but himself. He said he was working for the people, but as soon as somebody crossed him, what'd he do? He threw them right under the bus. And here you are talking about the white man's ass when everybody gotta kiss your ass, or else. I help people.
I help people.
My God, you listen to yourself? God damn.
Franklin now realizes everything at once. He got into the game for himself and hurt a lot of people along the way, lives ruined or lost. And he believed helping some people get rich at the expense of this justifies it, and this realization of this justification was enough for him to change. All his psychopathic traits start to fade at this point. He starts to feel empathy, starts to consider other people's choices more, and becomes less self-centered. But to hit Franklin hard while he's getting up, Louis went directly to Teddy to buy instead of Franklin, just to get more profit, detrimentally affecting Franklin's business. Franklin contemplates and takes a step back to look at life. He sees the money he has, his future wife, an unborn child. And all of this leads to Franklin deciding he's done with the game. He confronts Teddy and tells him it's been a good journey, but he's got a family that he needs to prioritize. Franklin Saint had come full circle and became the man he needed to be. An empathetic soul finally. And yes, damage had been done, but at least he's changed for the better. But nothing could have prepared Franklin for what came next. Feeling betrayed by everyone, Franklin receives the biggest possible blow by Teddy, as he empties Franklin's bank account, stealing $73 million in the process, leaving Franklin not just broke, but in debt.
How he get this information?
Franklin tries to ask Louis for help, but she says it's not her issue, despite her being the reason that he's in this mess in the first place. Franklin now craves revenge against Louis, Jerome, and most importantly, Teddy. And how he deals with this vengeance is the story for the next video.
The fuck? Bro, they look my man's broke? Nah. I can't watch Snowfall, bro. Hell no. I kill that writer and director. Bro, that writer and director ain't shit. That writer and director ain't shit. You gonna take all my money? Nah, that writer and director ain't shit, bro. Like, comment, subscribe, bro. Want more videos like this, man? Let me know in the comments, and I got y'all no cap.